Let's look at the moves. Baker, what was that?
This is not FPL. This is a major.
Welcome, bienvenidos, bienvenido. Today we have a historic episode of Hotkeys. But to kick it off, I'm going to pass it to my host over on the side here. Prater, how's it going?
It's good, dude. It's been a busy week, busy weekend. Lot happening. Lot to keep up with, lot to watch.
Right on. Said ALGS is going on right now.
BLGS.
ELGS. My fault.
BLGS. No. It's a funny distinction, but yeah, the BLGS started this week. I believe Europe, the EMEA bracket was earlier in the week. The NA bracket is literally happening right now, like as we speak. It's been fun. It's a really cool event. It is an Apex Legends tournament that is done kind of under the banner of the B Stream, which are Nicewig and Greek, who basically kind of like watch party literally every competitive Apex league. Like those dudes will be, they live in fucking California, but they'll be up at fucking 4 a.m. watching the APAC, like APAC finals. Games. Yeah. Super cool dudes, super sick. But as part of their just, they become so big in the scene and such a big part of like competitive Apex. They're working. They worked with EA to create the BLGS, which is an open bracket tournament series that is happening from now until I believe the end of November as kind of because otherwise, so Champs is in, I believe, either January or February. So at the end of September, between the end of Split 2 playoffs and Champs, there would normally be a pretty big gap. And BLGS is supposed to kind of fill that competitive gap. It's a tournament series, a lot of money to get. And one of the cool things about it is, like I said, it's actually open bracket, which is kind of sick. It is literally as long as you are, I believe, at least silver and have the minimum number of games on the account, you and any two people you are choosing can sign up for BLGS, and you just play through lobbies one after another. They slowly whittle the number of teams down until they get a finals lobby. And it's been cool to watch. It's been a lot of fun.
With open qualifier for their like majors. I think that's so sick.
No,
Gives
yeah,
everybody an
exactly.
open chance to get in there, show their stuff, and it grows the community. It really helps with the longevity of those games, and
it's been really fun. I've been watching from NRG's perspective because I like that team in Apex quite a bit. And seeing
shuffle too. We talked about it a little bit before.
Yeah, a lot of people after Split 2 playoffs, there was kind of some big roster moves, and I think a lot of the pro teams are using BLGS basically as a chance to really
test everything out.
Actually practice these new comps in a competitive environment instead of just scrims, because it's a bit of an NA meme for the Apex scene, but all pros do in Apex is complain about how dog shit scrims are all the time. And how it does not reflect game day quality at fucking all. So at least when there's actual money on the line, you can get some real practice.
People are playing a little harder for it. They want the paycheck.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been fun to watch. It's fun to see some of you've got, especially at the early stage. Now we've kind of whittled it down to where most of the lobbies are relatively competitive / like pretty high level. But especially at the beginning, seeing some of the game chats from NRG perspective at some of the early lobbies where you have pro teams literally like sharking like whole lobbies of fresh meat newcomers who are playing their first Apex tournament, and that was kind of fucked up.
I hear you. All the rookies getting in there, getting
dude, it was pretty funny. There was a couple lobbies ago I was watching NRG. They were contested at one of their drop sites. I forget which map it was, but they're being contested by it wasn't really like a pro team. Like they were, obviously they were decent because they had made it like a couple lobbies into the tournament, but they definitely were not like a pro team. And they were contesting NRG for a drop. Which, like, if you don't know in Apex, especially with these open bracket ones, there isn't So now in actual competitive Apex, they've developed a POI draft system so that true contests, like off-drop contests, don't happen in competitive anymore. But back in the Wild West days of like 8 months ago, it used to be just like you're yeah, because it literally just changed this year. That's the funny thing.
Nice.
Fucking the way it used to be was like every other BR, right? You got dropship that flies over map, and then you can drop out wherever you want. And there was kind of I don't want to call it an unspoken rule because it was not really a rule and people
Like
broke
a
it all the
gentleman's
time. But
agreement, more like.
well, you just knew that you didn't want to suicide your game for fighting for a spawn point with other teams. So teams would kind of lay claim to certain spawns or like certain POIs, and they would drop there and no one would drop on top of them. Obviously, this would change time to time, especially at LAN events where you have teams from other regions who are normally in those PIs or those POIs in their regions coming head to head with teams in other regions who also want that POI. And usually that kind of gets sorted out in scrims where they will basically just do the contest at scrims. And if somebody is like, oh, we lost that contest 20-0, we should probably land somewhere else for land,
Makes sense.
But yeah, so they took that away. That doesn't happen anymore, except in these. But these guys, NRG contest them, just obliterates them off spawn 2 games in a row. They proceed to not contest them anymore. NRG in that lobby, I believe, at that point in the tournament, they were doing 4 games per lobby, and it was like top 10 make it out or something like that.
Right.
NRG won 3 out of the 4 of those games.
Damn.
They were fucking that lobby up.
Man.
Yeah, and they were fucking that lobby up hard. 3 in a row, mind you. I think they got second on the first game and then won 3 straight. Or maybe something like that, something close to that. They definitely won 3 straight though. They almost did 4-0, but they got like second place in the last one.
They gave them one because they were nice.
Yeah, but my favorite thing was in the chat, like after they won the 3rd game in a row, that team that contested that one of the guys just posts like, yeah, win the contest, win 3 straight. I think this NRG team's pretty good, guys. It's just funny to see. Yeah, it's been a trip. It's been cool. It's been a fun tournament.
Right on.
There was a absolutely disgusting clip of Nocturnal with a Sentinel, and there are some guys trying to get an evac balloon off to reposition at another point in the circle. And he hits a Sentinel shot on a guy like midair flying and knocks him down from like the dude was a pixel on his screen, dude. It was one of the farthest Sentinel shots I've ever seen in my life. It was absolutely disgusting.
It's an R6 shots, man.
Yeah, no, it was fucking gross. That dude legit legit was shooting pixels. Like
insanity. Actual insanity. You have to send me that clip because I want to see that.
I will send it to you. Yeah,
Nice.
I have it. It's good. I sent it to like 2 people. So.
Right on. So I guess we'll just dive right in because we've got quite a bit to talk about on the end of Worlds with knockouts going on.
Yeah, I was gonna say semifinals at Worlds is starting, and we just finished all of quarters, so we can talk about that. I don't know how much do you care. I don't know if you saw the Coach Valorant thing. How much do you give a shit about talking about that, even if it's briefly?
we can run it because there's a little bit of esports drama that I'd like to cover before we get into
start talking about actual games. All right. So I did a little bit of research into this, and then but it originally came across my desk on the old Twitter timeline that the head coach, I believe his name was Chet. And he was the coach over at Optic and Energy, or former for Optic and Energy.
Yeah.
And he is now switching to CS2 after he was banned from Valorant. And you might be wondering, well, why was he banned from Valorant? Well, he was banned from Valorant because he did VOD review on his stream of Valorant scrims. And Riot banned him because they were like, oh, those scrims, like, because you cannot watch VODs in Valorant. for some reason. I don't know why. That functionality does not exist within the
you
game.
mean, like in the game that doesn't have like the
Yeah,
match
no,
recording.
there's there's no match recording. You cannot watch it within the game. So because he did VOD review on his stream, basically Riot said that the VODs were contingent on like basically they were like, oh, the only reason he has them is because he's head coach and the access to that content wasn't authorized and could not be distributed. So that's a breach of proprietary information. So he's banned.
That's kind of insane.
Yeah. So
considering how every other game has like a match download recording function.
This is my point where it's like, brother, fuck you. And they were like, oh, he needed to get permission from the other teams, and it's like, I mean, does he really though? Like, to me, it's like you could, in theory, right? Like,
permission from the enemy players to download and watch a match.
No, yeah, so why does he need it to stream it? Is my point. And it'd be one thing to be like, oh well, the other team in that scrim didn't want it, so they never they won't ever scrim that team again. That's fine. That's between the teams. That's their own business. To ban him from the game for that seems fucking ridiculous.
Also, does that carry over to League? Because League, you can download and review your matches, and people stream their VOD reviews for that all the time.
I don't know, man. Evidently not. Because yeah, you're right. I see people. Yeah, I don't know. It was just a wild thing to see. For me, I was just like, what a story. But yeah, apparently the development of that, because I saw it when he was first initially suspended or whatever, and he announced like shortly after that he is now moving to CS2.
Looking for teams in CS2.
Yes.
Right, welcome aboard.
Yeah, you're right.
Got him on the good side.
Yeah, send him on over. But yeah, I don't know. That was really. I saw that. I was like, that's a fucking wild story.
Right,
crazy to me that
handing the CS community more talent.
Yeah, we'll take it. That's a dub.
ESL's gonna cut him a check. It'll be fine.
So yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, he lands a CS2 team. I don't know what his like his trophy case or whatever look like, but hey, fucking. Crazy to me that Riot is outright like banning and suspending people over that shit. Like, I don't know. It's just making content for your scene in your game. Like, it's crazy to me that like we're doing this.
Yeah. Valorant's a mess. I like Valorant, but the pro scene seems a little shaky. Everything being self-contained within the VCT, I feel like kind of stops a lot of growth, especially in the tier 1 circuit. Because you look at Counter-Strike's pro circuit, and you have tier like 3, 2, and 1 teams competing at the same tournaments on not necessarily an even playing field, but it helps those tier 2 and 3 teams develop, and it also helps the tier 1 teams either practice for the other tier 1 teams, or a lot of those smaller, maybe lesser known teams or worse teams have some just crazy stuff that they're doing. Like, everybody's researching, they're trying to hit tier 1, they're trying to get to that top level, so it's just a learning experience for everybody, and it creates a more competitive ecosystem. And the VCT being locked between the different tiers and being able to only move up from challengers into
challenger tournaments,
VCT,
challenger circuits,
I feel like it alienates a lot of the pro player base, and sure, it makes things easier for the developer and for esports as a viewing experience, but for the players, I just feel like it's worse.
It's tough, right? Like there's always been two approaches, and like one is like you franchise / like semi-franchise the league, and that creates a more stable environment for teams. Therefore, more investors want in. Therefore, more money in the scene. Therefore, more players get paid more stuff. Yada yada yada.
Right. That's why they have that production value and everything. Most
and it's like
won't even have anything close to that. So
but then it's like obviously there's something to the competitive spirit of like the open bracket and the idea that like anyone can sign up out of nowhere and win something, and that's cool. something that works very well for fighting games. It contributes to like the idea of like how they work.
And
I
you look
feel
at
like
traditional sports, they have combines where
yeah,
regular people will go that
no,
are
yeah,
trying to break into the major leagues or pro or whatever, and they'll get scouted and things like that. So having those open brackets, those open qualifiers opens up for that. You find more talent.
you run into fucking baseball teams that will hire a 30-year-old dad onto their team because he throws a good knuckleball, dude. You never know. Like but yeah, no, it's I get it. It's
45-year-old
weird. It's two
father of six
approaches.
from the Dominican Republic.
Who can throw a knuckleball?
You know, he's
Yeah,
playing first base for the Mariners now.
a good knuckleballer is priceless. I learned this recently. I watched a whole video on it.
He's got the knuckleball lore.
Dude, it's sick. It's like one of the it's apparently one of the sickest pitches you could possibly throw in baseball, and it's really easy to throw because it requires almost zero arm strength. The problem is the margin of error between throwing a good knuckleball and a bad knuckleball is like extremely thin. And a bad knuckleball is like, get a home run, please. Like it's that bad of a pitch. So like, yeah.
Just hand it to him.
Yeah, that's what makes them so fucked up. Like he goes on the stats of like the greatest knuckleballers in history. And like one of the dudes who's considered like the greatest knuckleballer in history has this bomb out season where he like throws a bunch of no-hitters and is a god, then proceeds to literally have the worst like pitching average in the league the next season, only to then come back a season later and like all-star it again. But that's just because he throws knuckleballs. It's just how it works.
Petitioning to change ADCs or just carry roles in generals to knuckleballers, because it's a coin flip if I'm gonna have a good ADC if I'm gonna win that game.
True. W.
That's how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Valorant
That's
drama.
really that's my drama for this week. Yeah.
You got to hit on Valorant for a little bit. He's happy.
I'm not even hating on Valorant. That's more I hate on Riot. Like it's not their fault.
No,
like
true,
that's
true.
just shitty Riot things. Like I don't know.
It's Riot but Valorant by proxy.
True.
But from a giant conglomerate, we'll take a step back and we're gonna take a trip.
10 games.
Yeah, right. We're gonna take a trip to Southeast Asia, Singapore.
Oh God.
All right, let me set the stage. All right, you are a aspiring Rainbow Six player. You're living out your dream. You've just been signed to Bleed
In Singapore.
Esports.
Hell yeah.
You've left your family. You've moved out to I forgot what the player's name was. So forgive me if I'm misquoting this, but the tweet said a very expensive foreign country. So probably
That's the
Singapore.
United States. Oh no.
I don't know. I don't know where they're from. So it could be the U.S. It could be.
They
somewhere
moved
in
to
South
Singapore. Okay, sure. Yeah.
Wherever Bleed's Rainbow Six team is based, but
Right.
it's a org from Singapore. So
Right.
and you're being paid pretty much less than minimum wage.
Yeah.
Because they said they made like 700 in a month, less than 700 in a month.
Said 700 a month, which is, yeah. Here, I'm like 99% sure that's below minimum wage.
If not directly at minimum wage and nothing more.
Right.
But yeah, people being unpaid. Apparently the other teams within that, not just this one player, but all the other teams under Bleed's organization weren't paid for. This might be, I'm misquoting this stat as well. Just I'm pulling together like snippets of tweets that I saw.
Right.
Players were left unpaid for almost 6 months after being signed. So they were signed in December of 23. They weren't paid until April of 24 is when they received their first paycheck. And it's just been a downhill spiral.
Yeah.
Bleed has just been in the shitter. Everybody's coming out with some horror stories about them. They owe teams, other orgs, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Their players haven't been paid. Their CEO is allegedly on trial for like a domestic abuse case, which is probably why people haven't been paid. Why people haven't been being paid? That's Mouthful.
I'm interested. Yeah, I'm very interested as to how far the not being paid stuff extends.
Yeah.
Because like the only reason I say it is I'm curious who's getting paid and who's not, because like right now, right? We talked about BLGS going on today.
Mm-hmm.
Like Bleed is playing in ALGS, like, and there's still Bleed. Like nothing has really been voiced on that side, so I'm very curious as to who's being paid and who's not under
Yeah.
this current issue.
If they're even salaried at that, they might just be getting paid off winnings.
Possibly. To me, the only reason I would be curious is because I know who's on that Bleed team, and it's not like low tier talent.
No, they're
Like
not. They're not some
I would
schlumps.
say, yeah, I would say like the three guys that are playing for Bleed right now in Apex are like pretty good players who probably have like org offers. So like I would assume they're getting something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just real bad. And I
No,
was
yeah,
reading that
shit,
the other day,
absolute shit.
thinking, what year is that? Like, what year am I
Yeah,
in that I'm
yeah,
seeing all this? Like,
the
it put
old
me in a time
classics, bro.
capsule back to like 2012, 2013, when,
Triforce, bro.
dude, they're just packing these
Empire
people
Arcadia.
into like apartment complexes or team houses, paying them a couple bucks to sit there and play Rainbow Six or CS or Apex or something.
It's
And
yeah.
giving them enough money to go to the gas station and get a bag of chips for dinner. Like this is incredibly bad and dated.
No,
It's just
it's
poor esports practices. We live in an age where esports is a business where you can,
yeah. If
be
you're
professional now. It's
yeah,
transcended just sitting there playing games.
it's one of those things where it's like it really, I don't know, it just shows, I think it shows one that like the kind of organizations that exist in these games, a lot of them are still very volatile.
Yeah.
And the tier 1 orgs are tier 1 for a lot of reasons. One of those reasons is they are like a business that pays people. And it's why they are so sought after, because they're like a legitimate business. But yeah, it's wild, man. It's there are a lot of people that I think like you just got to be careful, man. They're predatory ass like orgs, still to this day
Not to throw
that
any shade
seem official. Like
on Bleed's marketing team, because I'm
mhm.
sure they had nothing to do with it. But
Yeah.
any org with a logo like that, I'd be pretty scared of. Just saying. We live in the modern era.
I was gonna say,
And
what is the worst esports logo you've seen currently? Is it Bleeds?
currently, like, okay, at like what level?
Like
Because
right,
there's a lot of
like
like
I'm
tier two
talking
teams that
about.
are kind of like, eh.
Well, no, yeah, I'm talking about like out of established orgs that
Established
have teams
orgs.
in games, something with historical. Like I would count, like if you were gonna say Beast Coast, I would think that's fine. Like that's an acceptable answer.
I
I
really
actually
like
like
Beast
Beast
Coast
Coast. Well, no,
actually.
I'm just trying to say the tier of org.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't need to be a Cloud9. Like Beast Coast is kind of. I agree with you. I like Beast Coast logo too. I think it's a good
So
logo.
from my perspective of mostly Dota and Counter Strike,
Yeah.
if I'm gonna go Dota, I think my bottom 5, in no particular order, is Tundra, Aurora, Liga, Nouns, and Bet Boom. Bet
I don't
Boom
like.
and One Win, but One Win's like an honorable mention because like it's kind of like Y2K and
You don't like
One Win.
nouns? Is nouns too memey for you? Is that why you don't like it?
It's just silly. I don't hate it. Okay, maybe I'll swap that one for One Win because I don't hate it as
Okay.
much.
That one I don't know, but nouns I do
It's
know what
it
theirs
is
is.
silly and it doesn't like I don't know what it is. It's a guy with glasses.
It's a guy with glasses,
I'm
right?
pretty sure it's
Like,
PPD, and that's like the funny
oh,
bit.
okay. Is that the joke?
But
Okay.
because that's like the guy that founded the team or
Ah,
something
I
like that.
see.
He's
I
like their
see.
CEO, and then I think he went back to active play recently, so he's like not the CEO anymore. I don't know, but it's like fine, but it is a little
Yeah.
goofy.
Sure,
Right?
I agree with that. A
Bet
little
Boom and
goofy.
One Win are betting sites, so it's just the betting site
Okay.
logo. It's
Okay.
not
Yeah. Yeah.
creative, and it's like whatever.
Right.
Liga
You just
looks too much like Flipside, like old Flipside. If you've seen the Flipside Tactics logo, which is also not great.
not great.
Aurora's looked better when it
Yeah,
was
that one I agree.
like
I think
straight
current Aurora
lines.
logo is like trash. Yeah.
Yeah. In Counter-Strike, there's a bunch of them, but I'll say probably M80 is my least favorite right now. It's just it makes no sense. Maybe I
Speaking
think it's
of,
like the cross section of like the firework. I don't know. It just doesn't look great. It's just bad.
maybe it's like an orgs with an A name thing. Cause yeah, Alliance. I don't know if you've seen alliances like currently, but God, I think it's dumb as fuck.
I like it better than their old one.
What you're talking about, like the A with the
The A with the
shield?
shield, yeah. Cause that looks
So
like a Newgrounds logo or like the Armored
yeah,
Gangs.
yes,
It's the
yes.
Armored Gangs logo
It
again.
looks kind of Fisher Price. I agree. But you cannot tell me that the dumb like kanji A is like better than that.
It
I
looks
just
like
refuse.
the Half-Life
Especially
Lambda
when they
logo.
use
Like
it
it's not that
especially
bad.
when they fucking use it in the spelling of Alliance. I hate it. I can't
Yeah,
stand
no.
it.
And the spelling is dumb. Letter marks exist as a separate entity. You never I actually had this problem at work. Um
That's funny.
it was a side project for like the CEO or the founder's daughter and she needed a logo. And so it was supposed to be the letter L
Mhm.
as like a dinosaur or something. And it was supposed to fit into a word. So it was gonna be like the dinosaur and
Yeah.
then like the rest of the word
Yeah.
minus the L because the dinosaur is the L.
Right.
It just doesn't work. It just doesn't look good, like ever. Across
Right.
any logo. Like
Right.
even like the I'm blanking on it. It's a U and it's got all of like the animals and stuff in it. They don't use that as the letter. They spell it out underneath it or next to it, and they'll have the letter mark solo. Anyways,
Yeah.
I digress.
No, I
That's
agree.
that's their that's a design lesson for the day.
Yeah, no, you're right. Very retro esports drama to get back on topic. Wild to see in 2024, but like I said, I think to me it just paints the example that it's like
It
people
still
want to play game.
exists.
Yeah, people want to
Yeah,
play games competitively, and there will always be people who want to
that
take
will take
advantage of
advantage
that.
of that.
Or even if they're not intentionally malicious, I think people often underestimate how much money these projects burn and
Mm-hmm.
how quickly they burn them. So I think a lot of times you will have people who get into this stuff fully ready to like, I want to make a team, I want these teams, and they're going to be great, and we want to be in every fucking game. And then suddenly you're 6 months into operation, and you're like, man, we've made no money, and we've spent 100, 200, $300,000. Like, what's going on? Like,
To jump a little off of that and a little off track, but I'll tie it into the next point. I have a segue for this.
sure.
Um, examples that you can look at for people currently or previously making esports organizations that have either been successful or unsuccessful or currently working towards that. You've got Disguised. Disguised Toast is pretty vocal on how
Yeah.
that org operates, the losses that he's working at,
He's
and
super
everything it
transparent.
takes. It's awesome. It's if you ever want to get into esports management or anything like that, check out his Twitter feed about it. Check out just everything he's talked about. You can look at the
That
examples of
dude
Puppey.
has done some stuff that is like really interesting too. Like I don't know if you saw it. He like just like played VODs on like his channel. Like he would stream like videos for like 48 hours and just run the maximum number of ads. And he was just transparent of like, hey, anyone who's watching ads during this time is just supporting Disguised Esports. Like all of this,
There
I'm
you
just
go.
doing this to generate ad revenue for
Yeah.
the team. Like,
No, but it's great because he is a content creator first, and then went into the orgs. Well, he was a pro player for a while, right? And then
I mean,
like
you're talking about like
Hearthstone.
the Hearthstone, right?
Yeah.
He even then, I would consider him more of a content creator. He was very good at that game, but he didn't like enter tournaments or anything like that.
Okay.
He very rarely entered tournaments.
Yeah. But he made
And
the
like
shift
he did a couple
from
times. Yeah.
content creator to esports mogul, and now
Hmm.
he's taking that like documentation from content creation and he's sharing it with everybody, and I think it's really great.
No, hundred
Puppey
percent.
from Dota did the same thing, developing Secret. So Team Secret started off as
Classic.
his like team in Dota, and then it evolved into a larger organization where I don't know, maybe there were an org beforehand that picked him up. I'm pretty sure he started it though. Like I'm almost certain he was
I mean, we've
the
seen
founding
that.
member.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that in a couple places. I mean, Team
Yeah.
Liquid, right? Like Steve was Liquid with numbers at the end of his name, and he created Team Liquid, and Team
Yeah.
Liquid is now like Team Liquid.
Yeah, and
TSM,
that's
I mean, started the same way, right? Like it was Reggie's team, and then it eventually turned into his org, and
and there were
like
some super classic examples too.
CLG,
That's
Hotshot
OG.
GG, yeah, you know,
Yeah, all those guys, Fnatic, Evil Geniuses even
yeah, true,
was all
yeah, no,
was all from back then. Yeah, but going back onto the puppy point, because Secret, maybe not a tier 1 org in every game. They were in Dota for a while. They still are, I'm pretty sure. He's coming back to that, so hopefully they rise the ranks again.
yeah,
But they ventured into mobile games, like really heavily. So they've got a Mobile Legends team, they've got a Free Fire and PUBG Mobile squad, or maybe it's just PUBG Mobile, an Honor of Kings team, who's currently playing at the
classic.
championships right now. So go check them out. Honor of Kings is sick. I don't care what anybody says. I love Honor of Kings.
I
Let's go.
mean, dude, those mobile games they have audiences. You know,
Yeah,
you can say what you want. I can
and
tell
those
you that I
audiences are
never want to
huge.
play them. Like, yeah, exactly. I can tell you that
So
I don't want to play them. Doesn't mean that people aren't watching it and like
yeah,
people give a shit. You know.
but like those audiences are huge, and supporting an esports org and brand where you can have a top tier mobile scene, underrated, because they pay
Yeah,
out. The Chinese scene is crazy, and that's really where all the money is. The
100%.
Southeast Asian teams dominate. So like Team Secret is like a Malaysian team for Honor of Kings and Mobile Legends, and they're crushing it. And that's I'm
And there you
sure
go.
that's where most of the money comes from, because their CS team is okay. Their Dota team has been on the rocks for a couple of years, needs some restructuring, and again, Puppy's coming back to do that, which is why he was standing in excuse me, on Navi at the most recent tournament. So, all that. But Puppy's my segue into our historic episode here. Recently, we had the Wallachia PGL Wallachia Season 2 taking place in Bucharest. And
Classic location.
to spoil it, Heroic won. Heroic is a South American team. The org is European, but their Dota squad is South American. It is Parker, their carry player from Peru. Their position 2 mid laner is Analog with a 4. So it's 4
W.
and
Yeah.
a log. Yeah.
Good name.
Their position 3, Devi Lama, is Belgian, but he's also from NA. He's American, moved to Belgium. So he's also a
Melting pot,
polyglot.
baby.
He moved to Peru and learned Spanish to play on this team. Like it's
W.
nuts. Yeah, Schofield, Peruvian,
Mhm.
and KJ, which is short for King Jungles, but he goes by
Good name.
KJ now. Who's Brazilian.
Happens.
So mixed Brazilian Peruvian squad with a Belgian American mix in there somewhere. Give them that Western European flair. And they beat. It wasn't like a slouch victory either. They beat Falcons, which
Sick.
is, a tier 1 team. The Saudis are pumping
Yes.
money. They love
I was
Dota.
gonna say they have bought up. You can rest assured that Falcons in any game that they are currently participating in probably acquired a lot of good talent because they
They
are
just bought
spending
Simple.
money.
They
Yeah,
just bought Simple.
I mean their Apex team is fucking the easily the most expensive roster you can assemble in Apex Legends. Like it's yeah. Yes. Hey,
So
I do not give a shit about the game that they are in. You don't have to know anything. If it's Falcons, you know that the people on their team probably have pedigree.
yeah. So they have, for the non-Dota players, Skitter, Marlene, ATF, crit, and sneaking. Sneaking's their coach. Or the leader, sorry. They're +5. US player. United States and China. Crit, TI winner. Danish
There you
player.
go.
ATF, I'm just pulling up the stats as they go.
Mhm.
Jordanian player. Tier 1 just menace. He played on Nigma, Quest. He was on OG back when OG was OG. You know, No Tail and all those guys. We've got Marlene, Russian player. Dominant region in Dota, regardless.
Easily.
And Skitter, was that Slovakia? Yeah, Slovakia. So a lot of strong Western European talent, Eastern and Western European talent. And they've all got pedigree.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing to slouch at. TI winners, Tier 1 beasts, pub stompers, the whole 9 yards. They're there. And they come to play. And they beat them earlier in the upper bracket. They faced off once. Heroic took a game off. Got sent down to lower bracket. They had to fight Tundra. They play Tundra. And they start pulling some nonsense on them. They played Tundra earlier. And it was the same score, 2-1. And it's just the display of South American Dota was kind of just mind-boggling. They're picking heroes that you've never seen before. Or you haven't seen in a long time, at least. But they're running shit like TA? TA in the year of our Lord 2024?
You love to see it.
You know, it's sick.
Yeah, you
It's
love
like-
to see it.
I'll get into the meta stuff afterwards, but Parker is a TA player. He has, on his Wikipedia page, there are 2 signature heroes. Most people have 3, he has 2.
Hmm.
It is Medusa and TA. I think it's since been updated to have 3 now. I think Morphling is in there.
He has hit the requisite number of games to have a third
To
signature.
have a third, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, they added Morphling to it.
That's funny.
As of
Like,
the
all right,
time of
he's
me making
guys.
my
He's
infographic,
played 250 Morphling games. It's about time
yeah,
we say as a
you can put him
signature.
up there. Morphling's just a strong carry across like all carry players right now. Everybody has a Morphling. After the patch that made with the facets and everything that
Mhm.
you could pick between the agility and strength, it was like a whole thing. It's good though. Beat Tundra again with the TA because I honestly couldn't tell you. It
He just didn't know what happened.
Yeah, TA's just like doesn't seem good in a lot of situations. In games where they're picking Ember Spirit and Medusa. Like it's good for the bristleback stuff and the Broodmother
Right.
because Psyblades will get rid of the Spiderlings. I blanked on the name. And Meld will break the bristleback passive. So it kind of makes sense. But it's a super niche pick. And I think because of that, a lot of these other teams struggled because they're not used to seeing it.
It's a running theme lately.
Mm-hmm.
It's a running theme lately.
So we get into the Falcons versus Heroic Grand Finals. Falcons was waiting for them from the upper bracket. Heroic quickly just done and dusted, got rid of Tundra. They took a game. Doesn't matter. They lost. You go into Grand Finals. Game 1, the draft is Tundra has a Pangolier, Hoodwink, Alchemist, Crystal Maiden, and Timbersaw, who's super popular, does 1,000,000,000 damage. We have a Timbersaw meta, and I'm scared. Heroic
I'm scared.
pick some bullshit.
Okay.
The draft starts off fine. The draft starts off pretty standard. Sand King, Gyrocopter, Tusk, Earth Spirit. Makes sense here. You get a silence off. You can get the stun on the CM. Makes sense. Bloodseeker. Slam in Bloodseeker for Parker.
Okay.
And it almost worked. It was a 73-minute game 1.
That's how you know
Where-
you're starting off to a good day of Dota.
Yeah, what your game is
the old 71-minute opener.
almost an hour and a half long, yeah. Dude, all these games went to like an hour except for the last one.
Oh my god.
It was a long day of Dota.
The mental wherewithal though.
I watched 11 hours of Dota that day. Like it was
Nah, I
fucked up
feel
and
you.
evil.
I feel you.
They slammed Bloodseeker. And the only thing Bloodseeker really does is stop Pangolier and Timbersaw. But the problem
Right.
there is Timbersaw can just stop moving because Timbersaw has reactive armor. So he's just going to heal a bunch and never take damage. And everything's going to be fine. Pango's just going to run himself into the ground and die. So like that's fine. You really only stop Pangolier. And they almost do. He has like this crazy build where he goes items that just make Rupture do 1 trillion like initial damage.
Okay.
So he like so he gets 2 charges on Rupture. Then he buys a Refresher Orb and a Conda. I don't know how to pronounce it. Builds out of Phylactery. It gives you crit, all that. Phylactery, single target spells do extra damage and they slow. So he ruptures once and it like takes half their health bar with the Phylactery procs and everything else. He'll rupture again to get more of that upfront damage, and then he'll refresher, and then he'll rupture twice on somebody else.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds fucked up.
It felt fucked up. It felt fucked up to watch. But they still lose. It falls
True.
off. Like it's like a
Right.
I don't want to say it's a gimmicky build.
We gotta win in 40 minutes, or we're probably not winning.
Because like
kind
it
of
was
thing.
working, but they started getting things that stopped single target spells.
Right.
They started doing more damage.
Once the defenses stack, you suddenly can't win an extended fight. Yeah.
They had an alchemist on their team, and I went into alchemist last episode.
Yeah.
Maybe the episode before that.
No. Yeah, we talked about that recently.
On how much I hate seeing that character being good. It pisses me off. But you know what? They gave me an alchemist once, and never again. And I'll respect it. Wait, no, they gave it to me twice. Sorry. Game 4. And
Bad things come in twos.
Good. And they lost in 30 minutes in game 4. So
Goddamn.
fuck you, Alchemist. Game 2. 50 minutes and 18 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty standard.
Yeah. That's not very surprising.
Yeah. And their drafts are pretty normal. Like, Heroic dialed it back. I said the last time when they lost before going to lower bracket that they kind of just tried out some weird stuff. Like, they weren't sticking to their guns. So, and they said that. They said the interview before the games to see what happened. Slacks was interviewing their coach, and they're like, yeah, we were just trying things out against them, seeing what we could get away with, and it didn't work, so we're back to try to figure all that out. So they did. They tried something else out. They were like, yeah, maybe it'll work one more time. We have 5 games to work with. And it didn't, so they're like, okay, return to form.
Right.
Falcons takes Nature's Prophet, Pangolier, Batrider, Bristleback, and Chen. Standard, all at TI, all very popular at TI. They're playing the TI meta, doing their thing. Heroic picks the Earth Spirit again, picks Tusk again. Tusk, pretty standard. Drinking Buddies, like I said before, OP. Beastmaster, so they're playing auras. I'm skipping this one because it took me by surprise. Morphling, and then their
Signature champion.
Pause 5. Yeah, right. I think their pause 5 pick Disruptor, which scares me, but it's really good for the Batrider and the Pangolier and the Nature's Prophet. It was like the perfect pick, and I wasn't expecting it because other teams might run like Spirit Breaker or something else that can match the rotations to catch him. But what Disruptor does is he has ability, I'm going to forget the name of it. I think it's called Recall, but I don't think it's Recall. You cast it on them, single target ability. You cast it on them, and it just drags them. Think of like an Echo ult,
Right.
or it'll like drag them back to their previous position.
Yes.
It just doesn't do damage. It just pulls them back.
Right. It's just a simple.
So
It's
Nature's Prophet,
Tracer fucking Q. Yeah.
yeah. So Nature's Prophet, who can teleport across the map in an instant, just gets dragged back. Now you don't have teleport. You're fucked.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a good pick. And they just had the superior draft. Ran him down. Morphling was huge. Just ran him over. It is what it is.
50 minutes. Ran him over.
50 minutes. Ran him over. Slowly, but they ran him over. Listen, it's not about the speed, it's about the weight.
That's damn, you're real for that one. That's bars.
Yeah, it's physics. Game 3. Falcons like, we can't keep letting them get away with this. We
Right.
can't keep letting them get Earth Spirit.
We need the draft adjustment.
So they pick Earth Spirit. They pick Earth Spirit, Snapfire, Clockwork, Dusa, and Brood Mother. Heroic goes Primal Beast,
A favorite
Omni-Knight.
of mine.
Shadow Fiend,
Another favorite
Tusk
of mine.
again. They keep letting him get Tusk. They let him get Tusk all 4 games. You would think after losing once, though, okay. Game 3, they lost once. It was 1-1. Sure.
Listen, if
Game
Worlds
4,
has
you
shown
can
us
deal with it,
anything, if Worlds has shown us anything, people have egos about counter picks and thinking they can beat something. Yone was allowed to become like 10-1 before people started being like, "Yeah, I guess we should ban it." Like,
It's sure. But they try to pick their signature heroes pretty much because Schofield is a Clockwork player, so they pick the Clockwork. Parker, Dusa player, they pick the Dusa. Right, and then they've had, I forgot who was playing their Earth Spirit, but they picked Earth Spirit a lot, so they picked Earth Spirit themselves. And a Darkseer, which is great against Broodmother. Ion Shell kills all the spiderlings. Easy peasy. They've got a lot of good initiation with the Primal Beast Charge and the Tusk. Omni-Knight helps them block out a lot of that physical damage from the Snapfire, Shotgun, spiders hitting you, things like that. So they have a lot of good defense. Good draft. The Shadow Fiend carry, at least in my bracket, is strange. Most people play him mid. But
right.
Agi heroes can flex pretty well into the safe lane carry role, one position. Especially Shadow Fiend, who excels at getting those last hits because he has a stacking passive for them that directly affects his ult. So it just works out for him. It's better off. 62-minute game. I'm not going to say they ran them over again, even though they did. There was a single fight in there. I forgot the timestamp, but game 3, they're fighting at the Radiant side, Twin Gate. Parker gets a rampage. Not only does he get a rampage, the Falcon's Medusa buys back, teleports back in to try to kill him. He starts just wailing on her, realizes that he's gonna lose, and then just walks away. Lives. Almost gets a 6k. And at that point, everyone's just like, Parker's carry of the year. Like, who is this guy? Showing his time and time again throughout this entire tournament.
Away.
He just walked away. He started walking. Medusa got slowed because of either his passive or an item he had. And then he goes invis and just leaves.
And he's just gone. Yeah.
He's just gone. That was it. Got a rampage and left in the grand finals. So it was nuts. Probably the best match, my opinion. If you have 62 minutes to spare, 62 minutes exactly.
Hell yeah.
Heroic Falcons Game 3, Wallachia Season 2. And then it kind of just fell apart in Game 4 for Falcons. They picked a puck, which didn't really fit their draft. Love watching Puck. I've said it before, one of my favorite heroes. Shadow Demon, who is broken right now, probably the best hero of the patch.
Yeah.
Alchemist, again, because we're losing and we need a safe pick that's just going to AFK
safe
farm
and
gold.
reliable. Yeah.
Yeah. Bristleback. Because Bristleback is also tanky and safe. And they try to play slower. And Heroic's like, oh, they're going to slow down. So they picked Deathball, Sand King Tusk, almost said Enchantment, Enchantress for heals, Timbersaw to just fly around the map, and Monkey King to also fly around the map.
Right.
So you have all this just get in, huge team fight ults. They have Dream Coil, they have Bedlam. Snowball breaks the Dream Coil. We saw
Right.
that in that game. The Tusk got Dream Coiled, snowballed his ally. It disjointed the Dream Coil so they didn't get stunned, they didn't take the damage.
Damn.
And the Sand King got out. So it was overall
Just interaction, Div.
Yeah, no, actually everything about that game. That's why it was 30 minutes. Like everything about that
Right.
game, Heroic just they saw into their minds. They read their minds and decisively won that game. It was so good. And because they won, they are now the first South American team in Dota 2 history to win an international LAN
Hell yeah.
Of that level.
No,
It
hell
was
yeah.
considered a tier 2 tournament, but you had Falcons there,
I mean,
Tundra was
yeah,
there,
you can call it a tier
although
two, but like a
the
historic
roster
win is a
shifts,
historic
but
win. Yeah.
yeah, and no, and everybody's saying not everybody, but some people will say that Game Spirit, Liquid, they weren't there. Extreme wasn't there. Like the top 4 teams weren't there. So is it really a win? Again, they had to play against Nouns, who kept their roster. Nouns didn't do any shifts. Falcons, who was made up of TI winners,
Right.
right? New Navi, so I'm not gonna they had Puppy. Puppy's a mastermind of Dota, he's been in the scene forever. But there's kind of a novelty to it that he's there and he's still in the scene. So no disrespect to Puppy, but when you have that level of pedigree and when you've taken a step back, coached and done all this executive stuff for esports and then come back to playing, there's a bit of a different
Yeah. It's
vibe
not
to
the
it.
same. Yeah. You're not. Yeah. You're right. It's different.
Beast Coast, who TI qualifiers
Yeah.
didn't make it very far, but still a top tier team.
If you're making it into worlds, you're a world's caliber team. Like it doesn't.
Yeah.
You
End of story. All these
yeah.
teams, with maybe the exception of Infinity, were and Avilis, because there's nonsense there too. But they're all top tier teams.
Yeah.
So Heroic winning this is a top tier achievement.
Yeah.
And it just kind of sets the stage for the rest of the circuit and the rest of the year to see how South America really shows up and if it's not just a fluke on Heroic's part. So
yeah, it plants that seed, right? It plants that seed of, okay, this region did this, they showed up, and you're right. Maybe it wasn't fucking the international. It wasn't, the most stacked tournament that we can put together, but it wasn't
it is
like
a
an
major tournament though.
right. That's the thing is, it wasn't an empty house. Like the idea, is it's not an empty house. Like they had to upset, they had to win in a top end, a high end tournament environment, and they did.
Yeah, and those were just
And
the
is
teams
that
that made it
replicatable?
out
That's
of
what we
Swiss.
want to see. Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's like the same thing when people try to degrade the Cloud9, like when Cloud9 first made quarterfinals, sorry, semis, when they first made semis. Yeah, they made semis at Worlds through beating Africa, and it was like, oh well, actually, the LCK wasn't that strong that year, and it's like, yeah, no one was saying that at the tournament, like,
yeah,
like
it's not like you're just trying to.
you're just looking at it
make
in
exceptions
retrospect.
there.
Yeah, it's just it's moving the goalposts.
Yeah.
It's like there's no sense in moving the goalposts on it. Like obviously it is a huge achievement. I'm sure it's massive for that region, and you kind of need that stuff. That's the kind of stuff that keeps the scene alive in a place. That's that shit that inspires other players to keep playing.
Those moments, and it's a big win for not just the Peruvian scene because they are dedicated to Dota 2. I love playing on the America's Mega server, South America North, and yeah, it's a great time, and it's only going to be better because now they're excited they won,
Right.
and other people are excited because Bet Boom Dacha is
it's
going
cool.
on right now,
Yeah.
Belgrade, and we had some TA pickers there, but
Okay.
not with Heroic. Heroic's not at this tournament. What was it? Liga went and tried to pick TA during one of their games yesterday, and it did not work out for them. So there's a LATAM magic to playing TA at a high level, because it's not just Parker as a TA like player. It's also Beast Coast carry as well.
It's like
So,
a homegrown cultural
yeah,
pick. Yeah.
they're bringing out the South American meta with TA of all characters.
I love a good regional pick. Let me tell you,
I
I
think it's
do
great.
love a good regional pick.
I think it's great. I love seeing it because it's just like you kind of know they're gonna do it. So do you ban it or do you just play against it because it's like so niche that you can just break
Right.
it
It's
down?
just like if you're just like, oh, I think this is just bad, even if they're good at it, it's just bad.
But it also
You
creates
take
like
that risk.
the
Yeah.
hype because it's like you know they're gonna pick it, and if they do pick it and it does well, it's like
No, I mean,
that's
yeah.
the
It goes back to there was an old when APA was on his come up in mid lane in North America, right? There was there was a while where everyone just kept going, okay, well, he only plays Soul and Ziggs and nothing else. And I was listening to, I mean, a lot of people were making this point, but I remember Medios making this point where he's like, yeah, everyone says that. And they're just like, oh, yeah, APA is fucking, he only plays Ziggs and Asol and he's good at them, but that's all he plays. And he's like, yeah, but all of you guys are, like, all of these mid laners are so
they're just
egotistical about
eliminating.
it. They're not banning it because they're like, oh, I know what he's going to pick. I can beat it. And then he beats their ass. Like, does it matter if you know what
Yeah,
he's going to pick? Like, if he's just beating you? Like, swallow your pride and just ban it, Like,
like if it's what they're good at, ban it
yeah.
because they're gonna have to pick to the meta at that point if you
Right.
can't
No,
play these
exactly.
niche
It's
picks, and
there
then you know how
is
to play the meta already. So it's more even for you to ban
right.
it.
Yeah, the idea is you're like, oh, well, we want to get greedy with the ban because so and so can beat it, and it's like, sometimes it's not worth taking that risk, and that's what
So
creates like an interesting draft environment.
exactly. Saw it there. They let Tusk through 4 times. Like we can
Right.
beat the Tusk.
No, exactly.
They couldn't.
Yeah,
They couldn't beat
precisely.
Tusk. They banned TA that first game because they knew, and they won. Look at that. They won game 1 because they banned TA. Imagine Parker played TA there. They banned TA and Shadow Fiend. 2 of his characters.
No, I mean, you need to play. You can't sometimes, especially I think at higher level events. There is something to be said about having to accommodate the player, like when you're dealing with high level players.
Yeah. All right. That's kind of all I had for that. Betboom Dodge is going on right now. After the roster shifts, we've got Game and playing, a couple other teams. I'm a Game and fanboy, so they're really all I care about.
W.
It is what it is.
Well, I mean, fuck. Jumping off that, we can talk about Worlds. And I'll be honest. I'll run through quarters real fast because I'm really interested in having a prolonged discussion about one game in particular, or one series in particular, I should say. So the matchups for quarters were LNG versus Weibo, HLE versus BLG, Top versus T1, and then Genji versus FlyQuest. A lot of these were like the Weibo LNG game went 3-1 to Weibo. Chinese team kill. HLE versus BLG was a pretty hot topic because it was Korea versus China, and Han was obviously like been doing really well for themselves since this tournament.
They've been crushing it.
Yeah, they ended up kind of getting stomped by Billy. So BLG really took it to him. It's like a 3-1. Top versus T1. I think people were also really looking forward to this one because it's actually a rematch of one of the Swiss stage matches where T1 actually lost to Top. So people were like, well, hey, that being said, we've been watching T1 like actively just turn it up like over the course of the tournament. Kind of at the start during Swiss, it was like Owner basically doing his damnedest to carry an entire lineup to victory regardless of what's going on. And I think we've slowly seen them turn on and come online. And yeah, the top series really showed that. That was a 3-0 for T1, and I don't think those games looked particularly close. I think T1 was doing insanely well. I have a sneaking suspicion in Game 3 that fucking Carria. So Carria picked Pike Game 3, right? And to give you an idea of the draft for Game 3 of that series, so the bans, so essentially Top, and he last picked Pike. I should say this also. He last picked, or actually, let's see if I can pull the pick order. But he picked Pike into the final result of that like the picks and bans for that game were Top had Kennen in top lane, a Zinzao jungle, a Sylas mid, a Leona support, and a Kaisa AD carry. I don't know how much you necessarily have played Pike or know about Pike. That is not a Pike angle team. Like I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
What you? That is not
You
a
have a lot
team
of
you're trying
openings
to play
for that.
Pike into. Kennen ults. What are you gonna do? Zinzao really kind of fucks your day up.
You can't
Sylas can steal your ult, and he health steals off W to get out of execute range. Kaisa, you have to like play the ult game with her, where if she can react to your ultimate, she can get out of it. Leona's not really dying too quickly, and like if you hook her in, she like Q stuns you, so like you sometimes can't get the full combo off. Like it is not a Pike angle. Like it's not a Pike angle at all. And he played it. And I have a sneaking suspicion that he played it so it was eligible for a world skin. Because I just don't see any other reason you really think
there's
like
gotta be
yeah,
there's
man,
gotta
this
be
is
no
the
other
pick.
reason but that.
Yeah.
He
like
really wants that skid.
like he was really confident. Like I said, they were up 2-0 at that point. And to be fair, that was I believe the longest game in the series. That game was 100%. That one was 37 minutes and 28 seconds. Longest game in the series, probably because things like the Pike. But they pulled it out, and like I said, they looked super strong. I wouldn't say any of the games were crazy stomps. They were all like 30 plus minutes. But like it didn't look close very often, and it was definitely a 3-0. So yeah, I mean, what can you say, dude? T1 can, as long as they get to Worlds, like it just feels like they can turn it up whenever they feel like it. Cause boy, if you would have told me they were gonna make semis, fucking in the form they made it to Worlds in, I would have told you were crazy. They barely made it to Worlds. Like fuck making a semis. Like
it always reminds me of like in basketball when you're playing slow the whole year, but you're playing just enough to get that 8th slot to make it into playoffs, and then playoffs come around, and then you're Eastern Conference champions.
no, I mean, yeah,
then...
there's something to be said about knowing when to turn it on, right? Like, granted, I don't think they wanted to get their ass handed to them by half of the LCK for a while.
Absolutely not.
But now that they're making the most of their chance, right? Like that's the biggest thing. Is they're like, all right, we're in Worlds, we can win Worlds again. They are not like letting that slip by. And they look very scary.
Faker wants another ring. He ain't gonna let nobody stop him from getting that.
Fuck, man. This is what his fifth. If he gets, dude, that guy's won a lot of worlds. I think it's his
Something like
fifth.
that, yeah.
I think it's his fifth, which is crazy to say.
Kid's a
So
monster.
yeah, he's an actual nut job. Like no, I mean to the level that Jude has played at for as long as he's played at is crazy.
Yeah.
And then we get to today, where history was also almost made.
It's a historic episode.
Gen G versus FlyQuest. We go into this game, and an NA hopeful. That's what we all were. We were very hopeful because, in all actuality, FlyQuest. I think if you were a betting man, you would bet 3-0 or 3-1 for Gen G pretty much any day of the week. Essentially, your only thing you can stand on if you're trying to think about how FlyQuest win this game is FlyQuest have been playing their own game the entire tournament, and they have proven that they can pull picks out that really surprise Eastern teams. Think back to the Nunu game against Hanwha, where Hanwha they picked Nunu and Hanwha was like, "Fuck, dude, I don't know what to do. Like, I can't." They could not play the game. So it's like you kind of
like that in their lives.
I mean, it was I think like the second, the number of times it had been picked at Worlds was insanely low, and it hadn't been picked in like 10 years or some shit like that. So yeah, at Worlds. So yeah, it's like, all right, well, hopefully the creative picks can work out, but like that's really all you can say, right? Like we don't have a ton of when you're like you look at like the mid lane matchup, right? Where it's like you have Quad versus Chovy. Quad is very good. I think Quad is proving to be one of the better mid laners in North America. And like he's definitely on the come up as he, I think this is his rookie year. Well, I guess no, not. It's sort of in the LCS. It's his first year. But yeah, he goes up against Chovy, who is considered like actively maybe the greatest, like currently right now in this moment, the greatest mid laner in the LCK. Like that's tough, man. Like I don't, like Chovy's entire story of his career was like he was the greatest mid laner in the LCK to never win the LCK, and then he won like 4 of them, and then they're like, okay, but you didn't win MSI, and then he won like 2 of those, and now the only thing that they can say is, well, Chovy hasn't won Worlds yet, and like we'll see. Like
on the fast track,
I was gonna say he's going there.
The right.
So it's like yeah. So it's like you look at that, and it's like, well, that's kind of a rough matchup. Well, let's look in top lane, right? Let's. What about top lane? And it's like, well, you've got Bwipo versus Kian. Yeah, that doesn't look too great there either, huh? Fuck. All right. Well, surely the jungle matchup will give us something. Inspired is really good. Probably the best jungler in North America. Who's he up against in Gen G? Canyon. Maybe the greatest jungler on the planet currently. And then like Pays and Lahens are very good. And it's like that's probably your closest matchup, which is crazy because like Masu and Busio are in their rookie years. This is Masu's first Worlds like ever, So it's like greater wisdom would prevail that it's like okay
to try to get past this team.
Right. It is not an exaggeration to say should FlyQuest win this, it is the greatest upset in League of Legends esports history. That was a real thing being uttered. We go in game 1 and FlyQuest does some fucking trickery. Some FlyQuest trickery. They banned Aurora Yone immediately. Great. We already love it.
Nice.
We're doing big things. They end up picking Galio top, Xin Zhao jungle, Seraphine mid, Ashe and Alistar in bot. This comp is great.
Fine.
Well, this comp
Seraphine mid in this day and age?
Well,
I mean, it's Seraphine.
Listen, this is the brilliance. it's a perfect counter to the team because if you look at the other side, you've got Ari, Jinx, Leona, Skarner, and then Rumble. Between Galio shielding and Seraphine healing, those motherfuckers were walking on Rumble. Like, just did not have to worry about
Stepping
it
through it,
at all.
firewalking.
Yeah, just like, oh, you Rumble ulted? Seraphine hits W. Everyone's shielded. Galio is going to ult and shield a bunch of people.
Everyone's got a full health
Yeah,
bar again.
I was going to say, like, we don't care about Rumble ult. Skarner wants to charge at the team. Ari wants to charge at the team. Seraphine ult. Galio, like
Galio
fucking Galio knockup. Yeah, like it worked like a dream, and they won game 1. And suddenly we're all standing up and we're like, guys, what's going on? You know, hold on, everybody strap in.
Calm down.
I wake up at the start, or no, I wake up this morning in the middle of game 2. So this is the start to my day. I see we're in a game where. I see that one. I look at the screen and I see FlyQuest is up 1. I went back and rewatched the game after the fact, but you know, now that we're live in the moment, I see FlyQuest is up 1, and I'm like, whoa, fuck. I'm looking at my screen. FlyQuest has Nunu again in jungle. I'm like, okay, cool.
They want a Nunu skin. They want the
yeah, Inspired's really trying to get another Nunu skin.
Listen, give it to him. Just for the performance, man. Give him a skin.
They got the Renekton in top lane, the Orianna in mid, Ezreal, Rakan in bot. And they are up against Nautilus Ashe in bot lane, Jax in the top lane, Canyon has Nidalee, always a bad sign, and a mid lane Kassadin. And I'm like, okay, there's some cooking going on here.
Busted out some crazy fucking mid laners, man.
Well, the Kassadin was secretly fucking brilliant because I'm watching Nunu ball into mid lane and Kassadin null shield is just like, nope, I don't care about Snowball. I stand in it, and then I teleport out. And basically, through the Kassadin and the Jax, apparently I woke up a little bit into the game, so I missed a lane swap. But the lane swap had really taken its toll on Bwipo because the Jax was up like fucking 2 levels or something on Bwipo, like very early into the game, and apparently it was because of when I went back and watched it, the lane swap went very badly for Bwipo. He got like 4-man dove like fucking 6 minutes into the game and was fucking murdered. It was a bad deal. So whatever. That game goes poorly. FlyQuest gets really proactive, and it looks like shit. Like if you watch that game, it looks like they're inting. And I think it's one of those things where they knew that they had to. It was not a game that you were going to win by sitting back and scaling. After all, you're looking at a fed Kassadin. When he hits level 16, he's fucking running down your entire team. So might as well try to see if you can get some kills and get ahead quickly. And it just didn't work out. It looked very bad. We move back to game 3. Now it's 1-1, and everyone's a little more tempered again. We're like, all right. We got the one. Is that the only one? They came back and beat the shit out of them. Like game 2. What's going on now? Game 3. Another. So I'm going to give you the Gen G draft first because it's a very standard draft, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've got Renekton in the top lane. Staple of this world. Sejuani in the jungle. Staple. Totally fine. Sylas in the mid. Champion's fucking great. Ezreal and Braum in the bot lane. Standard ass bot lane. Very standard. All solid picks. Really good. Sylas especially. Very good right now.
Mm-hmm.
FlyQuest. Cook again. Urgot in the top. Yeah, Urgot in the top. Skarner in the jungle. Kai'Sa, Rakan bot lane. And you might be thinking, well, that's like 3 out of 5 of like standard picks, and the Urgot makes sense into like a 4 melee comp. Sure.
Yeah.
What's the mid laner though? What is the mid lane? Well, if you were a watcher of the Sylas has been good for quite a bit. The biggest problem with Sylas in competitive for a long time during this year was he was getting shit on during the rise of the AD mid laner meta because he does not do good against AD carries in the mid lane.
Right.
Quad busts out Zeri mid. To counter the Sylas.
Guy.
The Menace.
Right there.
Yeah, the Menace. It was not AP Zeri. I hit to inform. It's never AP. It's never AP Zeri.
Come on, finger gun one shot.
No, this was. You want to know? And I'm gonna give you the Zeri build for that game too, because the Zeri build for that game, he was teching. Like my man was like hitting some. And it makes sense when you think about it, because like I said, right, 4 melee comp. So you have 4 champions that are going to literally be running at you. It's like everyone except for Ezreal is literally trying to get in and hurt you. It's why the Urgot works, because he can just shotgun everyone. Everyone else is pretty good at playing back.
He gets a free suplex.
The Zeri gets to kite back, but more specifically, Zeri for this matchup, like knowing what she's playing against, I don't remember if it was first or second item. She builds Stride Breaker, which is like so big brained. I can't even imagine. Because the whole idea, think about it. The second they get on top of you, or they try to get on top of your Kai'Sa,
you spin and eat.
You just spin. And you're just like, okay, all of you are slowed. I'm going back to shooting you in the face. It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Eat to a wall.
Yeah.
Oh, Stride Breaker. Nobody can run away from you. Free shots. It's chain lightning.
You're seeing it. You're seeing the vision.
The vision.
And he builds Runeance, so the slow is now like also on the Runeance, spreading everywhere. He basically and he had a great game. He went 7-1-9 that game. The real like hero of that game was kind of Whippo in a funny way, where essentially, the MVP of game 3 was absolutely Masu. He went 11-0-8 on Kai'Sa and was just a fucking machine, like an absolute machine. Some sick plays. If you want to watch like one game where you get real proud about fucking North American talent, and want to watch like a rookie go up against literally the highest caliber of player and show out, it is game 3 of FlyQuest versus Gen G, because Masu was doing it. And he was put into that situation off a really early play. Like 3 minutes into the game, they go to dive Masu and Busio in bot lane, because I think Masu took like a bad trade or something. Whippo TPs down to try to stop the dive. And basically they managed to, with like Busio hitting up the sickest like flash Rakan Q I've seen in a hot minute, to get both Pays and Lahens knocked up. And then Masu slams Q, gets a double kill at 3 minutes. So like he was off to the races, and like I said, that dude did not stop. Like he was 0 deaths at the end of that game. He had like some sick shit, and like everyone was playing to just cover him because they knew he was like a nuclear bomb. Which is also, like I said, why I like the quad build, because it's like, even if like at worst, like your Stride Breaker isn't just helping you, right? Like it's helping the Kai'Sa also stay protected, and like
it just adds to the sticking power of the ADCs. So they can't run away as much, so you can close those gaps, and
it keeps them off of you.
Kite and
100%. It turns into a whole thing. And Masu played it beautifully. There was a fight around Baron, and he had one of the most beautiful Zonias I'd ever seen in my life. Like during that play, like he was sick as fuck. So yeah, they win that game. 42-minute game. But they straight up, they come out on top. It was a big win. Suddenly, we're on match point. We go to game 3. Now, we've swapped sides again. As we've seen, there's a trend here where the blue side, whoever has blue side is usually winning. Except for, I think game 1 was the only, like, thing. They changed that rule. Yeah.
In Dota right now also. If you have Radiant, you have, like,
higher
percentage.
Percent.
You have a higher percent to win.
Yeah,
also, that's just because Dota's map is set up a certain way.
It's the case for both of them. There's side favor on League of Legends too. How severe?
The bottom left is my favorite side.
Yeah, like how severe the side advantage is kind of changes based on champions that are in meta and like pick orders and stuff, obviously. But so like red side right now, a lot of people don't like. Basically, Red Side gets caught in this weird thing where if like your team can't play either Yone or Aurora, you're like forced to ban both of them immediately on Red Side, which obviously doesn't feel great for your bans. Which is a problem that FlyQuest run into in Game 4, where they have to immediately ban Aurora and Yone. Um, Keen gets Cassante, and Canyon gets Nidalee like right off first pick. And let me tell you, that fucking game did not go well. Keen's Cassante became a raid boss at like 10 minutes, and the game was over like at 29. Yeah, there's not a lot to say about that one besides Keen is a monster. If you want to talk about signature champions for Keen, his Cassante is the one that spawned the meme of like 14 dashes, 3,000 armor, 7 million HP. Like, that's literally a result of his Cassante. So, yeah, when he's all that champion, bad things happen. Yes, no, like, absolutely 100%. So we go into Game 5, right? And the question is in Game 5. No, I mean, massive. I will say, we kind of spoiled it before with the idea that obviously this was almost history. Yeah. Even though they lost, they played a great series, and I think it's a big deal that they took them close in the first place. Because like I said, I think if you asked anyone to bet money, it would be foolish to bet anything other than 3-0 or 3-1. The last game is a little tragic.
Not the best team coming out of Korea right now, too.
Oh, I mean, no, not even a question, right? Like, this team, even though they lost in finals and came in as Korea's number 2 seed, the team was so good that people are like, yeah, Genji is still like even though they're not on paper the number 1 seed, they're like kind of the number 1 seed. Like that was
number 1.
Yeah, like we had like the same thing in NA with TL for a while, where it was like even though TL lost in finals, right? A lot of people were like, yeah, they're still probably our best team, which has proven to be completely untrue, right? I mean, FlyQuest has shown up in a massive way. But yes, this last game. You want to talk about comfort picks or shit like that? This was the Genji comfort pick, like, smorgasbord. Keen picks Rumble in top. Fucking Pays picks Ziggs in bot lane, which was a thing he was notorious on in LCK. A lot of teams would actively ban this against him. And Chovy picks Smolder mid. So if you don't know a thing about Chovy, he is like one of the most grossly efficient farmers just in the game. That dude will farm minions at an absurd rate. He does not miss CS. He is like notorious for just out farming his lane opponent. Mm-hmm. And now he has Smolder, a champion that as he kills minions, creates stacks that eventually turn him into a nuclear bomb scaling machine. Chovy had
execute on his Q.
Chovy had a 225 stacks of Smolder passive at 15 minutes. He actually might have had it sooner. He might have had it closer to 12. That is how fast he was farming on this fucking champion.
That's not okay. That's not okay. What's the 225 bonus on him?
That's when he gets the execute on everything.
That's the execute, right? Yeah, that's the max one.
That is the execute on everything, and then everything you stack at that point just increases the execute threshold.
12 minutes.
It was like around 12 minutes.
Killing people.
Yeah, he had an execute going with the spread on the the W that like out. Yes, yeah. All of that completely in, ready to go at like I said, somewhere between like 12 and 15 minutes. I think it was closer to 12, like 13 or 14.
Oh my god. I caught the end of game 5. Like the tail end. And I saw there was a fight at Baron Pit that I'm like, oh, maybe there's hope because they soloed out. There was the rest of Genji just showed up, and I'm like, it's over.
There were points in time in that game where you could see it going. So FlyQuest really cooked the Game 5 draft. And there are things about it I agree with, and there are things I don't. Right? They picked a little bit. Yeah, they picked Kalista, Alistar in bot lane, which I think is like fine. Masu has shown up on that champion a million times. Busio is a good engaged player. Totally fine there. Don't really have a problem.
Ozzo's also not a bad pick.
No, especially
Walking around,
they needed engage on the team too, because I mean, if you look at that team, like the team comp that they had, you need someone like Alistar to be able to engage. Inspired picks Fiddlesticks, which like crazy
That was
pick, like
fucking insane.
obviously hype, really cool. A
Wanna skin
signature
for it is
for
what he did.
him, yeah, I would say a signature pick for him as well. Like it was kind of a pocket pick when he was playing in EU. Like he knows the champion. And in theory, I like it. It can win you a fucking team fight. Obviously, you just need to control vision. The problems to me are so Quad picks Yone, and Quad is typically a control mage player, although he has shown up on Yone before, and I don't think he's a bad Yone player. I think the problem with Quad picking Yone is he's picking Yone into Smolder. So that's
box him out.
Yeah, it's a melee into ranged matchup. The theory behind it makes sense. Like if you hear what high level people say about the matchup, the idea is you basically kind of suffer through a weak early lane, where like you kind of get beat up by the Smolder and you get put under tower. But once you get your early spikes, your Blade of the Rune King and shit like that, you can start really like you just kind of insta give him, right? Like if you catch the Smolder out, he insta gives and dies. So you don't have to worry about Smolder in side lane because the Yone can just fight it and kill it and win. And then
I think the problem with that is like the more you let Smolder farm, the stronger this gets. And
yeah, but the idea is like once you hit the mid game, in theory, you should start not letting him farm as much because you can just send the Yone to the lane he's at. The problem is, you're right, it's just too big of a lead at the beginning. I mean, because that was really
like that.
That was the issue. Is just like at 15 minutes when we're starting to move to the mid game, that Smolder was like already fully fucking online and was like an absolute menace. Also, so we've got Set in the top lane, which is a wild pick. As much as I love that champion, I see the idea into Rumble. It's a pick where you can essentially you're gonna win out in longer trades, right? Like normally a lot of Rumble's power comes from the fact that he hits Flame Spitter and then roasts your face and there's nothing you can do about it. Set is like one of the few champions who can, I mean, he can E to stop it and then he just starts punching you in the head. And then like, what are you gonna do as Rumble with Set punching you in the head? Not much. Like in most extended trade scenarios, like Set's gonna win against Rumble. The only way that the Rumble actually wins is by basically hitting a bunch of fucking harpoons like over and over again. Problem is
until he's too low to actually
win,
and then hope that he tries it. And
the problem is that lane also did not go well because of some jungle intervention and things like that. And yeah, that one just, like I said, it fell apart. I think the Smolder was a big reason that fell apart because like Chovy just got ate alive in lane. Like that Smolder was farming like a madman. They had a ton of stacks and shit. But they came
execute by 15 minutes is
problematic.
Game ending. There's not a whole lot you can do because every fight you take in the mid game, if you're behind, is just gonna end with you getting executed. And if you somehow manage to get the Smolder, you're still probably just too low because the ult to continue fighting that. So you have to back off, and then Smolder's alive again, and you rinse and repeat, and you get nothing off of it. They keep taking towers because you have to retreat.
And then by the mid game, they were completely out of vision. So with no vision control, how is a Fiddlesticks even going to play the game? Like you can't ult from anywhere because they see you like at all times. It was just rough. It was good. Like it was great to see them. I'm glad that they came as hard and as close as they did. But definitely the last draft was a little much. But so NA is officially out of Worlds. But it's a good run. I can't be too pissed. I think FlyQuest really showed up. It would have been a little bittersweet if FlyQuest didn't show up in this way, because it's like the only teams they beat were teams they
got 3-0'd.
Yeah, especially after getting into semis getting into quarters by beating TL and then just getting 3-0 by Gen G. It's like, okay, well, maybe, it gives a lot of people ammunition to be like, see, they never should have been in quarters in the first place. But I think pushing to this degree obviously proves like they were there to play and they played well. Like I said, some of those, I'm not kidding. Like if you are at 80 carry, watch Masu's Kaisa game. That shit was inspirational. Like I don't know how else to say it. That dude was going insane. Yeah. Like that dude was legit. That was some inspirational fucking gameplay. Straight the fuck up. Like so fucking good, so fucking clean, and like and it starts off the back of like his top laner basically sacking a fucking wave to make it happen, you know, like literally giving it up so that his bot laner can get ahead, and he just does not let his foot off the gas the whole time, which is crazy because like I said, he's a rookie, bro. This was his first fucking world ever. And he's doing that. I don't know.
And he took Genji to a game 5.
The poise under pressure is insane. Like insane. Inspirational.
Next year is gonna be better. That's all it is.
Yeah. No, I mean, I hope this team keeps sticking around. I hope they keep scaling. I honestly, because I know we live in North America and roster changes are abundant in our league. I really hope that FlyQuest and Liquid do not make any roster changes. Like straight up, I would love to see those teams continue to stick it out, because I just let them cook, man. Like those teams they're doing well together. They're showing FlyQuest especially. I know some people are probably gonna be coming for like Umpty's head on Team Liquid, and it's like sure, maybe if you can get like a superstar jungler, like maybe you replace Umpty, but like I don't even know if I would touch that. Like I let them do their thing. Like these teams are fine, and I hope there isn't gonna be some weird hasty moves to try to fucking import someone who's gonna be here for a year and then leave again. You know, like
dip, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. The only other thing I wanted to bring up while we were talking about Worlds is the prevalence of lane swaps, and I wanted to see, obviously, you know, a little creative exercise on our end. What the fuck do you think Riot Games has to do to eliminate lane swaps? Because boy, they really tried to get rid of lane swaps before Worlds, and it has been clear that it just didn't work. And I mean, the reason why it didn't work, right, is obvious now. Because essentially, the way that they tried to kind of dissuade lane swaps from happening is they made turret plating way stronger. So you can't just lane swap and then take a bunch of turrets. And they're like, okay, now there's no gold investment. So like they're not going to lane swap anymore. Turns out that's not why the lane swaps are happening at all, right? Now that it's been clear for a while, it's got nothing to do with turret plates. It's got to do with getting your bot lane out of a shitty matchup and putting the enemy top laner massively behind in golden experience early. That's why people are lane swapping. They could take no turrets, but as long as their top laner gets a fucking 2-level lead and their fucking Ashe, their Jinx whatever bot lane escapes the Lucian and Nami from fucking terrorizing them for 5 levels, they think it's a success. Yeah. And that's the thing is, I actually don't know what the fuck you can do to solve it if that's the case. Because, like, the objective they're trying to win is through, like, XP, and yeah, it's really tough. I think it's a tough-ass problem.
Knowing Riot Games' design philosophy, right? In my mind, there is probably items, right? Like it's mostly the matchup, but those matchups are probably bad because of the core items for those champions, right? It's less of like a champion versus champion thing as I need this item to compete in this matchup, right?
Well, sometimes, a lot of the time, it's not even that. It's the experience. They need the levels, cause like at least with bot lanes, like a lot of the time, they need the levels to not be so vulnerable. I heard one proposed on a podcast that I think is maybe the most eloquent way to do it without some like very ham-fisted thing. And I think it might work where you lower the increased turret heat up damage. So like each subsequent shot will do more and decrease the cooldown time between the turret, like the amount of make the time
Make it shoot faster and harder.
Yes, exactly. Make it shoot faster and harder, and make sure the damage doesn't fall off just after like a couple. Like make the fall off time longer, so it takes longer before it starts falling off.
So
Because
you can't just get redived.
well, yeah, because that the dives are the biggest problems right now on like where people are really using the lane swap to crack this stuff open is, you know, you lane swap for a bit and like you take a couple waves that way, and then basically on the next base you just set up a 4-man dive on the weak top laner to knock them out of the game for the next 10 minutes, right? Like that's what is happening in those scenarios almost every time. Is it's literally just like, all right, we've ran this top laner around the map 4 times. He's level 3 at 8 minutes and he doesn't have that much CS. Now we bring the jungler, the bot lane, and our top laner. We 4-man dive him and like kill him because what the fuck is he gonna do? He's like level 4. And you know, now he's like actually out of the game for 10 minutes. Like he literally can't do anything for the next 10 minutes because he's so far behind. So it's like at least if you increase tower damage and stuff, you can dissuade these like the back-breaking, you know, piece to resistance fucking like dives.
It slows that down because you have to play more cautious.
It just it makes them harder to execute, and like and if you dissuade,
you'll probably definitely lose one in that. So then you just end up
then it doesn't. It's not really worth it anymore. And at that point, if you can't deliver the back-breaking blow, like is the lane swap worth it to go in the first place? Yeah. It's just something I think that they will have to think about, and obviously it's not something they can fuck with now, but maybe going into the next season, I definitely think it's going to be a talking point because
maybe it's an XP thing. Maybe the rate at which you gain the XP is slowed or something, so that.
But to me, it's like
it's less effective.
It's like
lane swap because then you lose out on a wave swapping, and then I don't know.
It's tough. It's really tough. But like I said, I think it's something that they have to look at because I don't think players typically like playing in lane swaps, and I don't think most people like watching lane swaps, to be honest. I think they're cool.
Make junglers stronger.
Well, it's like
buff junglers. And
yeah.
then they can just force 2v2s in top lane. And then you just create a different problem.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's just like, because I do feel like my biggest takeaway right now at the world, so the biggest thing that can be kind of annoying is sometimes you want to see these like big top lane matchups or bot lane matchups and how they play out, and I feel like in half the matchups where it's like you're like, oh, I can't wait to see how this bot lane goes, or I can't wait to see how this top lane goes. The teams are just like, well, you're not going to, because the first 8 minutes are going to be lane swapped because we don't want to play that. Like, you know, like so. It's
also just not fun to watch because this constant game of cat and mouse.
No, yeah, you're watching them base back and forth, rotate, yeah.
And then they'll take a wave and then they'll walk back because the other team is coming. And it's just nobody's playing the game.
Yeah,
running around the map.
It is literally that, and it's one of those things where as someone who likes creative, you know, problem solving and diverse picks and stuff, like I don't think lane swaps should be like just hard, like removed from the game. I think there are times where it's cool,
more situational,
right? It's cool to see that they're viable
to do this.
But yeah, the fact that they are so reliable right now, I think is definitely a problem. Like they should not be as reliable as they currently are, because it definitely feels like if you don't like the matchup and you have picked the right champions, you don't have to play it. Like you can just lane swap, and it is on the other team to scout it out almost like extremely effectively in order to stop it.
Give everybody the equivalent of a jungle item.
Oh god.
For each lane.
See that
like supports have support items already, junglers have jungle items. Just give us a top mid and ADC item. And then that'll stop it. That'll put an end to it.
Like I was thinking about like the most like ham-fisted ways you could do it, where you're just really just like, we have ended all creativity in all forms, and it's like that is definitely one of them, right? Where it's just like if you're out of your lane, you get half the XP for the first 10 minutes. Like, dude, some fuck shit like that. Like, oh my god,
that'd be terrible for the game.
Yeah, that would be the worst. Can you imagine where if they were just like, for the first 8 minutes of the game, you get half XP outside of your lane? Like that would be fucking miserable. Like,
I might need that for my rank games, though. I'm not gonna lie.
But your Teemo jungle is just not putting it forward.
God, it's every game. It's unironically, it's like every game.
It's bad. It's
Or
bad
it's
out there.
or it's a certain person's Nunu. He who
That's-
shall not be named.
That's a different kind of terrorism. But yeah, it's been a fun Worlds. I am looking forward to semis. We've got Weibo versus Billy Billy and T1 versus Gen G. So
That's gonna be a good one. I'm excited for that one.
T1 versus Gen G is definitely an LCK classic that obviously I would say Gen G has been winning for quite a bit now. It also ensures, with the way semifinals is, that we will have a Korea versus China finals because it's team kills on both sides. It's Korea versus Korea and China versus China. So, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely interested, right? On one hand, you want to see Faker win a lot because it's cool. I also think Chovy and Canyon are sick, and it would be cool to finally see Chovy get a Worlds title because that is like the last thing in his like that he just doesn't have. And everyone's just like, oh, he's like this sick, and he is a sick Korean top lane or mid laner, and his whole story has been like punctuated by like yes buts. Like it's always just like, yeah, Chovy's really good, but he hasn't done why. And now he can finally, if he wins, completely put that to rest. Like he's won a Worlds, he's won an MSI, he's got multiple LCK titles. You can't say he doesn't win the big things anymore. Can Gen G beat the choker allegations?
Tinfoil hat, harebrained headcanon for Faker if he loses his Worlds.
What is it?
Or he gets so fed up with his team, all these Zoomers, he's sick of it. And he's like, I'm too old for this shit. So he retires from League, and then he plays in like tier 2 Korean Dota tournaments for the rest of his career.
It is a fun headcanon.
That's his retirement. Because like Dyrus did it, Cutie did it.
I actually didn't know that. Dyrus and Cutie did that. That's actually sick.
They're like Dota streamers sometimes.
Sneaky was playing Dota for a hot minute too, actually, like learning Dota. I remember watching
like
Sneaky play Dota too, yeah.
League pros. A lot of the NA, mostly the NA ones, kind of like, well, they retired from League, just started streaming Dota. Like, I remember Dyrus was like streaming Dota almost every week.
I used to watch Dyrus play Tekken 7 a lot. That was a classic.
Hell yeah.
The Dyrus Tekken 7 streams went hard. He was really good. He was a good Noctis.
Did you ever play with, Avoiding the Puddle?
Yeah, no. Yeah. Eris.
I call those streams, yeah. Eris. That's what I was going to say, Aerith, and I'm like, no, that's fine.
No, yeah. Eris, yeah. No, yeah. Dyrus was a good Tekken player. Yeah, he was a very good Tekken player. He's a good Street Fighter player too. I believe he hit Master, I think. Just good at stuff.
Just a gamer, man.
Just a gamer. Hashtag just gamer things. Yeah. So if I had to put down a prediction,
yeah, let me hear it.
I think T1 takes it. I don't know if I'm happy about that.
So.
See, I'm on the other end. I kind of want to see Gen G go all the way, but I can't. I wouldn't be mad, right, if T1 took it. But I do think T1 might take it.
Where I'm like, it's just nice to see Faker win. It's like watching. Yeah. It's like watching Michael Jordan.
No, I mean, yeah, he's good for the sport, 100%. Like they're in Paris right now, and listening to that crowd just scream like little girls as Faker walked out was like crazy. Like, like, dude, they were screaming for my man Faker. Like they were like, he was the greatest thing since sliced bread. No, and he is. Yeah. He is the GOAT. He is undisputably. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You can't dispute that he's the greatest League player of all time currently. It's not. There's no hill that you can die on that is reasonable. Like, but yeah. So, like I said, I wouldn't be mad. I just want to see Gen G beat the choker allegations. Finally, like the world's choker allegations.
They still have to win the tournament. They can
Yeah,
still choke in grand finals.
sure, but they need to get to grand finals to choke in grand finals, you know? Like
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Weibo versus BLG, I don't know. All I keep hearing is like everyone is just like, guys, today is the game where BLG fall off. Like it just like keeps happening where everyone's just like BLG, they can't win, they're gonna
It's
choke
gonna
it out.
happen.
Well, because like apparently I don't follow China outside of like when they come to internationals, and then I'll like do my research. Apparently BLG is like notorious in China for obviously being like one of their best teams, and then they'll just suddenly like just blow it against like a bottom team for no reason. Just play like absolute dog shit, like into their face off and lose games. And like you saw, like we've seen it kind of happen at Worlds in like a couple of places where you're just like they got like blasted by like T1, and then like they got blasted by LNG, and like they were really like not hitting. And then so I feel like when they kind of got to the best of series where suddenly they're playing, 2 out of 3s and 3 out of 5s, everyone was like, yeah, I just don't think BLG came to play. But they keep doing it and they keep winning, and now it's like, well, maybe finally
maybe they are playing.
maybe they've decided to finally play. But I mean, this is probably the last big test against Weibo, and we will see.
The Weibo litmus test.
Yeah, if I had to guess though, this is a tough one. I think BLG. I don't know. Like I said, I keep hearing that like maybe they can't do it, but like they just keep kind of doing it, and I don't expect that train to like stop.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, I was thinking about. I'm gonna go back to the Genji FlyQuest game for a second. I want it noted also when people are just like, oh, they fucking FlyQuest took them to game 5. That is also insanely impressive. So going into this series at Worlds, Genji had lost 1 game. They are now 7-3, and 2 of those games are because of FlyQuest. Just put that on the record. Like,
Goated.
Yeah, no, they really showed up. The shit was literally crazy.
They came and played, and they did, and
Yeah.
can't be mad at their performance, even though it ended. But
Yeah, I'm gonna say BLG win it out against Weibo. I think T1 probably win against Genji, and if that happens, I think T1 take another Worlds, and Faker gets another ring.
yeah, I could see that.
I think Korea wins no matter what. If I'm being honest,
Yeah,
I think if
Genji, both of them are
I think if
strong.
either team comes out, I think they beat either Weibo or BLG on the other side. I think Korea will be taking another world championship, regardless of who wins
I
semifinals.
can totally see that happening.
It is what it is. All I know is that NA shows signs of life, and once again we have outperformed EU at Worlds. Again, this now makes 3 years in a row.
W.
So
it's all we want to see.
Hey, I love it every time. Every time everyone's just like, oh, EU is still the better region. At some point, we got to start opening
Fnatic.
Fnatic. At some point, we have to start opening our eyes and going, well, maybe it's just G2, and even then, they have been outperformed like 3 years in a row.
Where's G2 at?
I mean, Mickey X and I forget who the other. I would say I forget who the other one was, but at least 2 of G2's players post Worlds have been allowed to quote unquote explore other options. So that team might be breaking
G2 anymore. That's crazy.
Nah, it's
region to a 0-team region.
It's crazy. I mean, it sounded kind of sketch. Like if you watched the G2 interviews and stuff at Worlds, a lot of them were just like, yeah, this team has been together for like a year or a year and a half, so it's kind of do or die. And everyone's like, what do you mean by that? Yeah. So it definitely felt like going in, if like they couldn't perform at this Worlds, it might have been kind of the end of the project. They've been together, I think. This lineup for G2 has been together for at least 2 years, I think. So they've been together for like 2 seasons. They are definitely, by league standards, as sad as it is to say, a long-standing roster. Yeah, right. So yeah, I don't know. The way they talked about it definitely felt like they were like, if we can't show up and like make a big splash at Worlds this year, like we might need to call it and like figure out a new lineup or something. And it looks like maybe that, obviously nothing's confirmed. All that was confirmed is that, or that was reported. I don't even think it was confirmed. The report was that Mickey X and I don't remember who the other one was, but one other member of G2 have been allowed to explore other options. So there's at least a possibility that after, a little over 2 years, G2 might be going back to the drawing board as this roster has not led up to expectations that they want for international. Yeah, true. We could get, dude. Mickey X would actually be a sick support grab for North America, but yeah, I don't know. They're busy taking JoJo from us. So
listen, we got rid of C9, just like liquidated their whole roster. So
yeah, there's rumors about that. There's like, I've heard rumors that Sven is taking over as C9 ADC, which is kind of crazy. Makes sense. Dude's good. So it'd be interesting to see him on that squad. And then yeah, I'm very curious who they're gonna pull for mid lane. Like 100%. I actually do not know who C9 is looking to get for mid lane. Because in theory, they can't import, right? Because well, no, I guess they could. They only have one, right?
Yeah,
it's just
they
just have Thanatos.
Mm-hmm.
Well, fuck. If they could pull
a
I would say if they could pull a dynamite mid laner, who knows? But
there we go.
Yeah, if JoJo does leave, which it's looking more and more likely that he is. Apparently, word on the street is that he's going to Mad Lions Koi. That would suck.
France.
Yeah, that would suck. Nah, Koi's the Spain one. Carmine Corps the France one.
Mad Lions is French org though.
Mad Lions doesn't actually exist anymore. It's an entirely Koi basically bought them out and kept the brand.
Oh, they just assumed them.
Yeah,
all.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Literally, they
mind.
changed the entire roster. They changed the management, the coaches, everything. They just kind of kept the Mad Lions branding. But yeah, it's it's Mad Lions Koi, but it is an entirely different org. Yeah, they're the Spain org now, I think. From word on the street, like I said, it's EU stuff. So I only get what I hear from other sources. But yeah. But yeah, I think that covers our whole event span.
Pretty much. I did forget to mention earlier IEM Rio real quick, just because Grand Finals happened on Sunday after we recorded the last episode, so talking about it now. Navi beat Mouse. I kind of saw that coming.
I think you mentioned that, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that.
I wanted Mouse to win. Mouse didn't play badly.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't play great though. Map 1 Inferno, Mouse 11, Navi 13.
True.
Dust 2, Map 2, Navi 13, Mouse 2.
Yikes.
Mirage, they flip it on them. So Map 3, Mouse take their first map of the series, 13-6. And then this is my favorite one. And not because it's on Ancient, and that's my favorite map, but because it was actually legitimately a good game. So if you're going to watch any of the grand finals of IEM Rio, just to recap and watch some Counter-Strike, just watch game 4 of the grand finals. You can skip the rest of it because it's whatever. 11-13.
That's a close one.
It's close. It's kind of sandwiched the two other terrible games for both
right,
teams.
yeah.
They had
basically two black. It was they essentially played a good best of one and got blasted the other two.
Yeah. It's the best part of the sandwich is the bread here.
Yeah.
11-13, 11-13 for map 1 and 4. Mouse showed signs of life in map 4, but ultimately, got pulled off a light support there. So, but that's that.
Yeah.
I don't know what the next tournament is for the Counter-Strike Tier 1 circuit. But whenever that starts, if it hasn't started already, I'll check it out because I'm on that. But my focus right now is Bet Boom Dacha. That's where gaming's at. Gotta watch them. New Liquid, New Spirit. So,
Oh yeah.
it's a good time.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, the progress ever marches. Like I said, BLGS will be going on for a little while now. CPT is wrapping up for at least the offline qualifier spots. I know Shudo from Japan just won the Singapore Super Premier, which was a very fucking stacked tournament. Very, very stacked tournament. Like legit, like so many fucking good players went out to that shit. Like DCQ, Ending Walker, I think Chien, Higuchi, I know Nephew and Gachikun. Like that was all the top 8. So yeah, the Singapore tournament was stacked, but Shudo won that, so he gets that offline spot. And in our old backyard East Coast Throwdown was also won by a Japanese player, Itabashi Zangief. So love it or hate it, Zangief has conquered a Pro Tour spot.
It's about time.
Fuck that character.
Lariat his way.
No, fuck that character. Even after they hot nerfed him, fuck that character. That character's so whack. I will say he's nowhere near as like the hot nerf. I think has helped him be less egregious than he was, but like, at the start of this season when he got those buffs, I wanted to throw up. It was the most disgusting gameplay I've ever seen in my life. But if you want to see some funny talk about, if you want to see some funny hating, because we love promoting hating, Nemo, who is I love Nemo. Nemo's one of like my favorite.
Nemo's great.
Yeah, Japanese fighting game players. Nemo apparently just fucking hates like Itabashi Zangief and like outwardly just hates on him like all the fucking time. It's very funny.
Goes like rants about this every time.
He like thinly veils it, which I think is the best part. Like at one point he was talking about like players he does not like, and he pulls out this picture that is like very clearly Itabashi Zangief, and he just blacks out the eyes, and he's like, "You don't know who this is, but this guy fucking sucks." It's like everybody knows who it is. He knows that everybody knows who it is, but yeah,
this mysterious person right here, terrible. Hate him.
Bullshit character, bullshit guy. Fuck that guy. Yeah, that was a trip, and obviously Itabashi won ECT, so there was another clip floating around of him talking about it and continuing to hate.
Awesome.
Kind of hater. I was gonna say that's the kind of hater energy I need. I love to see it. I need more of that in my life.
Hot on the keys to hate.
Fucking yeah. No, if there's one thing that you want to channel into your keys, it's hate. Play with hate. Hate in your heart.
Hate the enemy. Listen, we've got some of the best players in the world hating and getting in trouble for it, but you know, they stood on the hate in the pubs.
Huge dub.
And that's what really matters.
You hate your way to the top.
Hate your way to the top. Keep on hating.
Keep on
Shout out to Latam. Phase up Latam.
Phase up Latam. Throw him up.
Throw him up.
Shout out to the Americas.
Shout out to the Americas.
Shout out to the Americas showing
North
up.
And South, rise up.
North and South America showing up. Really
showing up. Making history.
Making history, almost making history, getting like really close to history. Nephew also was second at that Singapore tournament, okay? Like, we had an American man in the top two. Like, we're out here, okay?
Catching dubs daily.
We're doing our best, hating our way to the top, fighting for everything. What the fuck is a kilometer? Jets fly by,
I gotta get an
Eagles.
Eagle Screech somewhere in here.
I was gonna say, get me an Eagle Screech, get me the fighter jets. I want the Blue Angels flying by fucking my football stadium. And when I say football, I mean the pigskin.
Love the pigskin. Gotta feel the pigskin.
Laces on top, baby. My football is brown. My Lambo is blue. Like,
and my blood is red.
Yeah, my blood is red.
We're going to the next one.
See you next time.